Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in today's video we're going to talk about the Radic. Schrade doing a fantastic job with this model. I have been carrying this at this point in my pocket for literally more than 2 months, ever since I had my video posted for the Truix. Now both of these knives in Schrade's Alpha class of knives, made in the USA, US sourced materials, and just a fantastic overall design. Recently, I had the ability to go to SHOT Show 2023. I was down there with the guys from Schrade. I actually got to meet their designer who did design the Radic. Really cool, fantastic to meet them, and just an awesome time at the Schrade booth. But today I'm going to talk to you about this in detail. Now, as I mentioned, I've been carrying this for a while, more than 2 months, which for a reviewer is literally crazy, and a knife reviewer at that. Literally 2 months is almost unheard of, but it's the overall usability and the functionality of this knife that I've come to greatly enjoy. And so what we're going to do, I'm going to talk to you about this in detail, but with that said, I have a whole bunch to do and a whole bunch to share with you. And if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. Now, before we get too far, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at Schrade who did provide this for review. And so again, the Radic. You heard me say the Alpha class of knives. At this point, Schrade has gone through pretty much an entire rebranding. From what we've come to know, they are now part of AOB, which is American Outdoor Brands. So not just Schrade and knives, but a number of other companies that kind of tailor towards the firearm industry, and all together under the umbrella of American Outdoor Brands. So Schrade here, their flagship knife company, doing a fantastic job, and with their 3 classes, the Alpha, the Beta, and the Delta lines. So again, the Alpha class of knives, made in the USA, generally all sourced US sourced materials. The Beta class, kind of a mix, it's a hybrid. Most of them assembled in the USA, generally speaking, many US sourced materials, and then that Delta class is overseas. So a number of different price points, number of different materials, different manufacturing from around the world. So as I mentioned, I've been carrying the Radic for a couple of months. I had the opportunity to bring this down with me to SHOT Show, and actually it was pretty interesting. All the guys there also carrying the Radic. A very nice and functional knife. Now at this point, I have cleaned this up just a little bit, kind of gone through it, really tightened everything up. I can tell you that after months of use, the pocket clip did loosen up just a tiny bit, but went right back to nice and tight. And I think some of that is the way that I grip the knife. Now this does have a crossbar style lock, and I did find that generally speaking, it works very well. The spring might be just a touch light. I would say maybe 1 gauge. So if Schrade could go just a little bit more stiff, maybe 1 gauge on the spring, I think it might weigh into it just a little bit. And the reason why I say that, this is a tip up carry and right-handed only. So as this is in my pocket, if you're not careful, this can pull out just a little bit. I had a couple of times where it was kind of close to causing problems, but never really was. But as you can see there, just a little bit loose, a little bit light. But this is a very fidgety knife. That is one of the things that I've come to greatly enjoy. If you look, the knife literally just flying out. Now, as I mentioned, I have cleaned this up just a little bit, but regardless of that, the action on this, fantastic. Whether you're going to slow roll it out with your thumb, whether you're just going to flick it out. But for me, it's the overall fidget factor and the ability that this actually just flies right open. And I have to admit, I am really not one for fidget factor. I don't really care about that. I'm not huge in the way of pocket jewelry. I'm not in the way of fidgeting with my knives. I'm really more of a hard use and utility type of guy. So having a knife that for me kind of got me into that fidget factor, but still has all of the utility capabilities, it's been awesome. Now, I do have to say, I've watched a number of reviewers kind of commenting on the Radic, saying it's overpriced for what you get. I don't find that. For me, I support what Schrade's doing. I support what they're doing in the Alpha line. And the Radic is really a testament to that. It's S35VN, which is a solid steel, nice carbon fiber. It's kind of that sort of, I don't know if you call that like a fat carbon fiber, but pretty nicely done overall. good ergonomics, fits perfectly in my hand, and nice and sculpted. Everything rounded out and just softened. I like that quite a bit. So it's good for long-term use. It fits my hands well, good 4-fingered grip, and even though it's a little bit of a larger knife, I don't mind that. Personally, for me, when my workhorse knives are typically used in harder conditions, I want them to be a little bit bigger, fill out my hands, and that's what the Radic does. So all in all, great design features. I love the blade shape and that utility-driven purpose. I found that I've used it on a number of alternate grips, getting way up on the blade, things like digging out splinters or even little detailed tasks, opening boxes, simple, and the fact that you can work right down on the surface with ease, I have greatly enjoyed it. So the Radic, from a functional standpoint, has been fantastic. Now, I can say I could see people really enjoying maybe a medium-sized knife. This is a little bit larger, but maybe one size down. But all in all, very nicely done. Now, I'm just going to clean up the blade a tiny bit here. Nicely done on that satin finish. Very, very even, and just a great look overall. You can see it is pretty bright, nice and polished, very nicely done. And as I was getting back to this side, you can see I kind of do grip on that clip just a little bit, and most specifically when I get back on the crossbar lock. So I'm kind of pinching with 2 fingers here, my fingers here grabbing on and just releasing that. You can see drop shut. So stainless steel bearings on the inside, caged bearings, very nice. Now, I did fully disassemble this knife. You have a T8 on your pivot screw here. You have T6s on the body screws, and pretty easy overall. Now, if you're not careful, you do need to use 2 different tools. So, 2 T8s to get your pivot screw apart. You also need 2 T6s to get the body screws apart. The pivot screw is not D-shaped, so as you spin it, it will sort of spin the opposite side. So you definitely need 2 tools. That's a little bit of a downfall to me. I don't necessarily like that. I think that a D-shaped pivot screw would go a long way. And the other thing is, if you're not careful, these standoffs, and as you notice, a fully open design, but these standoffs will spin. So you do need to maybe get on those with pliers, which is not ideal, but I did manage to get this apart just with 2 T6s. Now, as you take a deep look all the way on the inside, this is not skeletonized at all, and it is steel liners. So I would say that you could probably lose just a little bit of weight, but overall, not a terribly heavy knife where you do end up with the fat carbon. So that loses a little bit of weight over G10. But then on the inside, where these are nice and sturdy steel liners, I think they could have got away with some skeletonizing. But again, that doesn't bother me. This is a workhorse knife, something that I've used over and over and over again. Cutting paper, cutting boxes, zip ties, general utility tasks, and the blade has held up fantastic. That edge still nice and refined, no chips, no rolls. The heat treat on the S35 VN seemingly very, very good. So overall, the performance on the Radic, I have to say, I am very happy. So it's just the little minor things. And again, people have complained about the price, but let's really talk about it. I am at a point in my life where I'm thinking more and more carefully about where things come from, where I'm buying them from, and really trying to support home. I really do think we're at a point where we need to think about that. And so bottom line is, something made in the US is going to be a little more expensive. We don't have a ton of US made pocket knife manufacturers. I mean, they're out there, but on the production side, not a ton. And so of course it's going to be a little more expensive. And the more and more people support Schrade, the more and more companies are out there, and the more and more we bring things back to the US, the less and less prices will eventually be. I mean, you have to imagine that with, limited demand and, a reasonably limited supply, the cost is going to be up. And so all in all, if we have more demand for US-made products and they're able to make more units and make them more cost-effective, it's just going to help with the price overall. So again, I really do support what Schrade is doing, and especially with their alpha class of knives. And so even with some of the subtle nitpicky things that people didn't like, maybe the exposed pommel, it could be maybe in some people's opinion a little bit sharp, doesn't bother me. I'm not going to be reverse gripping my knife a ton, but you can, and I would. doesn't bother me too much, and that really just is a little bit more for me about that fidget factor and how I'm playing with my knife and just kind of spinning it around in my hands. But I do think that this really offers quite a bit. Fantastic overall shape, awesome utility purpose, and a very well performing clip. Now, the clip, I know people have said they don't really like. It's tight. It really is. It may have a tendency to shred certain pockets, but it's not going to fall out of your pocket. It is not going to come out. And you really need to be, I would say, deliberate in how you install it and how you take it out of your pocket. But overall, that's not a bad thing. And for me, again, I'm going back to my statement. This to me is a workhorse knife. So if you're getting a knife to use, this is going to be a fantastic option. For me, I'm a user. I want to use my knives, and the Radic has absolutely performed in every way, shape, or form. So the little subtle things, could they make some adjustments? Possibly. All I would say is a D-shaped capture for that pivot screw so it doesn't spin. Maybe a slightly, and I'm going to say 1 gauge stiffer on the, and can I even say Omega spring, or is that like a patent thing? I don't know. But on the spring, and then other than that, maybe, and that's just in the eye of the beholder, a tweak on the clip. But again, it doesn't bother me, and it has performed extremely well. So in my opinion, the Radic, I definitely like it, and I absolutely support what Schrade is trying to do. And so all in all, I do have to say thank you very much to the people at Schrade who provided this for review. Definitely a knife that for me, I've come to enjoy, appreciate, and that is why this has lived in my pocket now for a couple of months, more than 2 months. And one of my original statements for a knife reviewer, that is very few and far between when that actually happens. And again, it's because of the overall features, the functionality just through the roof, and the fun and fidget factor that I've come to enjoy, which I typically don't. So again, very nicely done. Couple of little minor tweaks, and I would also like to see a smaller size for this Radic. But all in all, extremely nice, and I do have to say I have come to greatly enjoy this knife. And for the rest of you, if you like this content, do me a favor, take a look at my Outer Limitless 2 channel, which is more on the tactical and firearm side of things. At this point, that channel is growing quickly. I have a ton of videos up there, so if you like what you see here on Outer Limitless, do me a favor and check me out on Outer Limitless 2. So all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.